Good evening. It's April 5th, 2025, Saturday, and it's my pleasure and honor to be speaking with Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing today, Mr.
Very good, thank you.
You're looking well.
Yeah.
I like your clothes, look very nice on you. Are you having a nice day?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Did you have a nice dinner?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Mr. Jeckovich was born in 1925, and now we're in 2025. He's knocking on the door of 100. Also, Mr. Jeckovich was born and raised during the Great Depression. How did you manage to get through the Depression?
We got through flawlessly. It didn't bother us. I don't think.
No problem.
Well, I was young.
But no problems at all, right? Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich spent almost his entire life at 3063 Orleans Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, 14303. And Mr. Jeckovich says he remembers when Orleans Avenue only consisted of dirt roads and 2 houses.
Yeah.
That was it, right?
Yeah.
How big was the creek then?
How busy?
Well, how big was the creek then? You said later in your life it became a pond or a stream. You said it was covered with weeds. How was it when you were growing up?
The street?
The Jill Creek, how was that?
Oh, Jill Creek. We couldn't see the creek anymore.
But how was it when you're growing up?
Well, you could see the creek, and you sit there and look at the water. You couldn't fish in it, but you could see the fish jumping up and down there.
So it was a nice sight.
Yeah.
So even the creek is not looking good.
No.
Yeah, that's a shame. Wow. Mr. Jeckovich was with Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. Isn't today a gift, Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you better believe it. It's funny that Mr. Jeckovich said a couple weeks ago that he blinked his eyes at 20 and now he's 100, right?
Yeah.
It went by very fast. Mr. Jeckovich was drafted in World War II, and there were many battles, including the Battle of Bulge. That was the final battle before Hitler committed suicide. And their whole squadron lived by the motto, live for something rather than die for nothing. Their motto in their squadron was, live for something, rather die for nothing. And it applies today. It applies today, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You had one interesting run-in with General Patton. What was that like?
Patton?
You had one run-in with him. What was that like?
Running with Patton?
Well, you said you had one meeting. You met him face to face when you guys were trying to get some sleep in a barn.
Oh, yeah. Well, he spotted, his Jeep was covered up good. He spotted us sleeping in the barn. Told us to get our ass. That was 3 o'clock in the morning. We ran into hell outside.
And you just laid down.
Yeah.
And so what did he say to you?
Get up and get out and get down to the next checkpoint right now. Go.
And that was the last time you seen him?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
He wanted to get to the stupid the other country. He wanted to get in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When the war wound down, Mr. Jeckovich and all the young combat soldiers had their fingers crossed. They didn't want to get shipped to the Pacific now.
Oh.
They survived the European theater, barely survived. And now they're thinking about shipping them for more bodies to fight in the Pacific. You're lucky you didn't.
Yeah.
But there was one soldier that couldn't wait to get there. Who was that?
Patton couldn't wait.
Couldn't wait. Unfortunately, Patton died of an automobile accident, non-military related, non-combat related, and it's funny, when you see his pictures of his final years, he was only in his 50s, and he looked like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
It took its toll, didn't it?
Well, he's in charge of a lot of people.
And plus, he was also in World War One.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been in a lot of wars. And, yeah, he was in a lot of wars. Yeah. And then when he died, he wanted to be buried with his soldiers in Belgium.
Yeah.
And then several years later, his wife died, and he had a wish to have her buried next to him in Belgium. Military, even though he's a general, they wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't allow it. So they went around the system. They cremated his wife, and they scattered the ashes amongst his tombstone area.
Yeah.
So basically, it worked out what he wanted to do. He beat the system. He kind of beat the system before. Remember when they told him he would never be able to cross the Rhine?
Yeah.
You don't have enough equipment. You don't have enough men. You'll never cross that Rhine. You can't do it. He says, we're going. We're going to do it. And what finally happened?
Yeah, he got across the Rhine, yeah.
And he always has a lot of reporters with him, military reporters. What's the first thing he did when he got on the other side?
Yeah, pissed in the water, yeah.
Yeah, he had all the reporters view him in. He whipped it out, pissed in the water, giving everyone in the higher echelon the middle finger salute that he did it, and they told him he couldn't. So that was another funny thing. He was always in the news, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He created the reasons he got in the news.
Yeah.
He didn't get in the news by accident. He created it, right? So that was your experience there. And then after you got out of the war, what did you do then?
Well, I got home and got a job.
Okay.
I worked for Clark.
You worked at Croasdale's.
Carsville first, yeah. No, I worked for Carsville in between. Oh.
Yeah, between, yeah.
My uncle worked there, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Could you show this to Mr. Jeckovich, please? Just step over and let him take a look at this. 1 second, please. What the hell happened to it? Stand by. Blow it up like that and let Mr. Jeckovich. Take a look at this picture, Mr. Jeckovich. Well, were you working at the Strand Theater when that was playing?
Yeah, well, those kids come in Saturday after morning for that movie. That's where they get pissed on the floor.
Okay, so you were actually working when this movie was playing.
Yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich was an usher at the Strand Theater, and we've brought up an old poster when he was an usher there, and it's called Dr. Sickling and Company, Asylum of Horrors. Oh yeah, Asylum of Horrors. And so you were working there then when this was playing, and what would the young kids in the front row do?
They got horrified, got pissed all over the place.
Oh my God. And that happened on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
That's emotions when they pissed all over. I don't think you can get a kid today to do that because they're so used to watching on their laptops, on their phones, violence.
Yeah.
They're so used to watching violence.
Yeah.
Mothers should take that away from them. In fact, if you have a kid 16 and under, and he's got those phones that you go to YouTube and listen to all that stuff, that's actually child abuse. You shouldn't let your kids be watching that stuff. They're watching all this violence today.
Yeah.
And all this destruction.
You get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to it. They wouldn't get excited and piss their pants. But how do you think these kids would be doing today? They're watching all this bombing and blowing up. How do you think they'd do today, Mr. Jeckovich, if they're on your right-hand side in the Battle of Bulge? How do you think they would do?
Well, the younger kids wouldn't care one way or the other because they don't understand. But the older kids, they say, well, you do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do. I'm
saying, if they were in the actual war battle like you, how do you think these kids would do? The ones that's watching the war?
No, they wouldn't do very good.
They wouldn't do very good, yeah.
They weren't trained for it.
They could see it on the screen, but actually seeing blood and bodies blowing up all over the place, the reality of it, they wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. So now we're the second time around with your book. We're on chapter 4, and this is when Mr. Jeckovich has got passes to Owensboro, and he's going with his friend Smith to meet Smith's girlfriend at a hotel, and she brought her other, Smith's girlfriend brought a girlfriend along named Elaine.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Did any other soldiers have their girlfriends shipped all the way from another state?
Oh, yeah.
They did. Okay, okay. So let me pick up on this. Before I read, I have to open up the laptop, and I have to have your dog tag number.
42965.
Okay, so this is when you and Smith were on vacation, meeting Smith's girlfriend Betsy and the girl she brought along to him. Betsy and Elaine were waiting outside the motel for us. I immediately noticed that Elaine had looked great. She had something to her hair which made her attractive and seductive. I got out of the front seat so Betsy could sit next to Smith, and Elaine and I would get in the back seat. We sat down, and Elaine reached over, kissed me on the cheek, and said she missed me. I smiled and I missed her also, and she took her hand in mine. Do you remember what Elaine looked like?
Oh, yeah, she's a beautiful girl.
Okay. Was she younger or older than you?
She's younger.
Wow, well, you're 19. How old was younger?
Well, she's probably 20. She's
Okay,
probably,
teen, yeah, okay. While my other arm, I gently pulled her closer to me. We drove for a while as there was not much to see in the way of our sights. Then we stopped at some place to eat. During the table conversation, Smith and Betsy were discussing pros and cons of her going back home to South Carolina, and her money was running out. Imagine that, of course. She's coming from South Carolina all the way to Evansville, Indiana to see her boyfriend, and money's going to run out.
yeah.
And she missed her family, which she had not seen in quite a while. So here we go. And Smith is not making enough money as in the military to keep on sending her back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, what did you do with your monthly money that you made?
Well, I sent up most of my mother.
There you go. My mother's son.
85%.
My mother's son. That's what the book is about. Mr. Jeckovich took care of his mother from age 11 when his father died of a massive heart attack, trying to give these kids a better life, and to when his mother passed away at 89. Here we go. 85% of his monthly paycheck he sent to mom. Beautiful thing. Okay. So they're from South Carolina. Did they have an accent?
Yeah.
They did have an accent?
Oh, no, not too well, no.
I asked Elaine what her plans were, and she reiterated she had to be back to school on Tuesday, so they had to leave. She hoped that when she came down, Betsy would go back with her. At least that was a plan. Now she did not know what Betsy was really wanting to do. Well, Betsy stayed near the base in Evansville, Indiana. Eventually, Smith is going to be shipped off.
Yeah.
She ain't going to follow him overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had to go back with her.
She had to go, okay. Okay, now she did not know what Betsy really wanted to do. She wanted to stay, yet she felt an obligation to return to school. I agreed with her that she would go back to school, and she replied by smiling and squeezing my hand. After dinner, we decided to go back to USO and see what was going on there. We arrived just in time to be informed that there was a 2-hour bus tour of the city. Oh, that's nice. You take a bus tour of the city. Smith hurriedly parked the car, and we hopped on board the bus. Luckily, the bus was not crowded, and we were able to find several double seats. While writing about the city, Elaine told me about herself and her family. She had two brothers, and both were in the service. One in Europe, and the other one in Pacific in the Marines. Didn't they send mostly all the Marines to Pacific?
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Yeah. She also had a younger sister in her last year in high school who wanted to join up as soon as she graduated. Elaine felt uneasy about her sister's desire to enlist since there would be no one home with her parents. That would also make her decision to join the Navy a bit more difficult for her. As she felt as if she would be deserting her parents, I remarked that I faced the same situation at home, and that was why I decided to wait to get drafted instead of enlisting. Okay, tell us, why'd you wait to get drafted?
Well, because I want to stay with my mother. Stay
Yes.
a bit longer, yeah.
Yes. So if you get drafted, it's going to take much more time to get drafted, but you're going to get a lot harder position.
Yeah.
They're going to send your ass right to combat in most cases. While if you enlisted, you could pretty much have a cushy job. For example, didn't your brother have a job of teaching?
Well, after he got out of school, they got a deducted for school. Teaching guys how to drive Jeeps.
Was he some type of expert driver?
No, he wasn't. He was a very poor driver.
Did you say he also had an accident?
He hit a fire hydrant.
So there's a good example. If you enlist, you can get a cushy job, never leave the States, but if you get drafted, not going to be so lucky. But Mr. Jeckovich sacrificed that so he could spend a little bit more time with his mother. I was on the verge of telling her about my family, but as she did not pursue it, I did not bring it up. We were both surprised when a bus pulled into the USO parking lot. We had not realized the time had passed so quickly as we were engrossed in each other's company and conversation. We stayed at the USO for a while and listened to jazz quartet and was playing there. I did not jitterbug. What's jitterbug?
That's a fast dance.
Okay. I did not jitterbug, and the girls were not crazy about it either. Smith would go on the dance floor and just jump about to the great delight of us all. So Smith was kind of like an actor. He'd go out there and jump around,
Yeah.
dancing, and made everyone laugh, right?
Yeah.
As we sat in the motel room listening to the music of Glenn Miller, isn't it funny they never found Glenn Miller's body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They never found his body. But his music was popular 90 years ago.
Still is right now.
Good stuff lasts.
12 minutes.
Good stuff lasts.
Yeah.
Good stuff never goes away.
Yeah.
From the ETO and enjoying our pizza, Smith and Betsy decided to go into the bedroom, and I suspected that I would sense a sense of uneasiness of their actions, and I believe Elaine sensed it also, but neither one of us commented regarding it. While we talked and embraced, I could not resist the temptation to touch her breast and caress her gently. She remarked quietly, and I was moving too fast. And at that moment, I embraced her fully and kissed her passionately all over. She responded completely for the next several minutes, and we kissed repeatedly. I was soon fondling her all over and getting sensually excited and aroused. Oh boy. Eh boy. Elaine remarked several times that she should stop, but I either did not hear her or ignored her in a minute. She rolled over on her back and I was, okay, let's see here. Okay. In a few minutes, okay. As we held another, I repeatedly kissed her gently and whispered that I cared for her a great deal and I wish we had more time together. She agreed and said that she would try to see me as much as possible. We sat quietly on the couch talking and holding each other. After some time, to the realization that we had to be back at camp. Boy, did you ever get late for camp?
Never.
That was a busy schedule.
Yeah.
Going here, going there. Like I remember one time when you're hospital in Paris, you were seeing Renee, and you're north of Paris at the time, and you would take a bus to the train station to a taxi cab, and then a taxi cab to see Renee in Paris.
Yeah.
That's a lot of moving around.
Yeah.
2 times a night. Were you ever late then?
No, never really for roll call, no.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Mr. Jeckovich has never been late in his life, I don't believe, and this is how he looks at tardiness. Mr. Jeckovich says, You can't always be right, but you can always be on time. You can't always be right, but you can always be on time. So you've been on time all your life.
Yeah.
That's a good trait. I told her, Elaine, that we had to leave for camp. She understood and said I'd better inform Smith. I repeatedly knocked on the bedroom door and there was no response. I opened the door quietly. Smith and Betsy were sound asleep in each other's arms. I gently nudged Smith several times, and after a time he woke up with a start. I advised him that we had to head back to camp, and we had missed the last bus. We did not hurry. So now in this case, you're hurrying.
Yeah.
Wow. They both jumped up and said they would be out shortly. In the meantime, Elaine had come out of the bathroom where she had freshened up, and I informed her that I'd be in the bathroom a few minutes and asked her to hurry Smith and Betsy along. As Smith drove to the bus station, everyone was quiet and thoughtful. Elaine had her head on my shoulder, and Betsy was sitting close to Smith. I kissed Elaine several times and told her I'd think of her and asked her to think of me. She said she would. We embraced and kissed for the last time before we boarded the bus.
8 minutes.
I said I would try to see her the next weekend. She smiled and said she looked forward to it. They both waved as the bus left the station, and I could see Elaine was crying as she saw us disappear into the night. Riding back to camp, Smith informed me that Betsy had decided she should go home with Elaine the next day, and they would try to see me on a 3-day pass, possibly on a 15-day furlough, before we shipped out. What that meant to me was that there was a strong possibility I would not see Elaine again. Did you ever see Elaine again?
No.
That was it. Oh boy. Reveille was at 500 hours. Just enough time for a shower and a little sack time before it was time to get up. Boy, you were burning the candles at both ends. You were beat, right?
Well, 19 years old.
Yeah, I guess so. The last 3 days were a great boost to my moral and self-esteem. I had done things which I thought were beyond my realm and expectations. I enjoyed myself tremendously and wished that it would never ended so quickly. I knew that I would not see Elaine again, and I accepted that, although with some regret. I was fortunate enough to have Elaine come in my life, if only for a brief period of time. And I would reminisce about our short journey together in the days and weeks to come. They would help me fortify and strengthen me in the unknown months ahead. There was always upcoming furloughs and distant future, which meant only one thing: we're getting close to shipping out. Yeah. So, do you feel up to asking any questions?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
When you worked at Croysdale's, do you remember if Croysdale's had any children?
Had a what?
When you worked at Croysdale when you were a teenage boy before going into service, do you remember if Croysdale's had any young children, younger than you?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember any of their names?
Well, they didn't come into the shop with us.
But they had children.
I only went in once when I went to the house and the kids were there.
There was kids, huh? Mr. Jeckovich, what do you know? Do you know the meaning of life?
Do I know the meaning of life?
Yeah.
My life, I probably know, yeah.
What's that? What is the meaning of life?
My life, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, have you ever done karaoke in your life?
And what?
Karaoke. Singing in a microphone?
No. I was singing in the microphone.
Well, karaoke is like you go into a bar, the bar plays a song and you sing along with it. Did you ever do that?
I did that a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Okay, so you did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was also the singer. I was singing with him.
What were you singing?
Some song he was singing.
So you
he
did
had a
do
guitar.
karaoke?
He had a guitar with him too.
Wow, that is amazing.
What's the name? She said, John was singing. John was singing.
No kidding. I'm glad we asked that. Mr. Jeckovich, when you were a boy, you lived in basically an area with not many homes. Did you have a bow and arrow? Did you do archery?
A bow and arrow?
Yeah.
I made my own bow and arrow, yeah.
Yeah, and what did you shoot?
I shoot a target, put a target out in the street, out in the alley.
So you didn't have a store-bought one, you made it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, have you ever driven a motorcycle?
Driven?
A motorcycle?
Once, twice in the army.
Did
In
you enjoy
wintertime. Wintertime.
Did you enjoy it? Oh, in the wintertime?
In wintertime, I was sliding all over.
Wow, did you fall off?
I fell off once, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, how the hell could you drive on the ice and everything?
Huh?
That must have been very difficult driving on the ice.
Yeah, and then I wasn't familiar with motorcycles at all.
Wow. Mr. Jeckovich, when you see panhandlers on the street, how do you handle that?
Handle it, I feel sorry for them.
Okay. Are you scared of spiders?
Never?
Are you scared of spiders?
Spiders?
Yeah.
Well, not the small ones, but the big ones are bad.
Okay.
The one with the red noses.
Here's a question that we were talking about, some of these text messages and come right away, but this person here is regarding to being on time. So they must have heard that you said that your motto is you can't always be right, but you can always be on time. And this is one question they just sent. Mr. Jeckovich, are you usually on time for things, or are you always late?
No, I'm never late. I'm always on time.
Always on time. There
Or
you go.
ahead of time.
Mr. Jeckovich, do you believe in kissing on the first date?
Well, all depends what it is.
They were asking about Elaine, that's why
Yeah.
they texted me that in there. If you had the opportunity, because everyone seems to be getting on board of flying in space to the moon, would you be able to go on a rocket to the moon?
No, I don't think so.
You have no interest in that?
Them two just left off again.
Yeah, yeah, it's called space tourism, and that's a kid turning out to be.
Well, them two people must be all hooked up with space, but that's the third or fourth time they've been up there.
Yeah, would you be interested in doing that?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No.
Mr. Jeckovich, you told us a story about orange juice when you're home on leave. Did you ever make your own orange juice?
Yeah, I made no orange juice, yeah.
And how did that orange juice story turn out when you got home on leave? You said you came home to leave to Niagara Falls,
Yeah.
and you had some orange juice. What did that story was about?
Well, the orange juice was, my mother was sipping on it. I guess she just made it. Yeah, I just got off the bus, and I was on the bus all night. So since I took a sip of it, I think I drank most of it.
And what she
He
said?
said, how you drank all my orange juice?
Yeah.
But she made it again.
Mr. Jeckovich, do you believe in the term "mother knows best"?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. And that's what the book is about, their mother's son. Mr. Jeckovich, do you remember what's the last book you read?
My last book I read?
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnson's book on running.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good book. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, do you prefer shopping at Walmart or Target?
Target.
Target. Why is that?
Well, it's more stuff, better stuff.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich, you talked about a restaurant in California they shut down. But if you owned a restaurant, what kind of food would you serve at your restaurant?
I served what was accepted in the community. I wouldn't make it any separate, different.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, do you remember what kind of car you learned to drive on?
That Packard.
And who taught you to drive?
No, I just picked it up.
So you had no teacher,
No,
you got on there?
yeah.